Hi everyone, welcome back to Crochet Rocks. My name's Tracy and this is part 2 of my Circle in the Sand crochet along, or you'll see it referred to as CAL. That's what crochet along is, C-A-L, those of you who didn't know. Excuse me. And so what I'm going to do in this one is to just show you the centre piece of this square, and part 2 will be this part. So I'm going to separate them for beginners, and just to make sure that if anybody needed to refer back to any part, then they can just go to part 1 or part 2, and it's not a bit of a mess to try and find the bit you need. So I'm going to do that today, part 2 now, because part 1 is the introduction, which talks about the materials and how we're going to make it. So if you want to watch part 1 first, I'll pop a little card link for you to go to that one first. There is also already a tutorial for my Circle in the Sand square, but it is just one tutorial. So I'm going to split it now into 2. For the purposes of the CAL. But if you're an experienced crocheter or you want to just go straight ahead and do that, that's fine. But these ones will be there up as well, just so that it's kind of separated, which, you know, some people like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my my Robin Paintbox, the variegated yarn, and these are really tight, these yarn bands. And I've cut myself several times trying to undo them, so I'm just going to rip it off. Some of them slide off nicely, but this one doesn't. So I'm just going to get some yarn out while I do. Bear with me a second. I'm using a 4.5mm crochet hook, as I said in the introduction, and I've got my scissors handy. Now this is actually quite a nice little tutorial. You don't have a great deal of ends to sew in because you can work them in. So I'm going to do a slip knot, and I was going to do a slip knot the way I normally do, but I'm aiming this towards beginners. So if you want to do the slip knot in an easy way, you just make a loop. Just see that, make a loop and pop your yarn through it and pull it. So easy. And now we're going to crochet chain up 5, and to do that we yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through the loop that's on our hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through. These are really beautiful colours on this yarn, and I'm going to slip stitch into my very first chain that I've done. There's the knot and there's the chain. And I'm going to insert my hook, and holding on to the loop, just yarn over and pull through both of those loops. So we've got this little diddy ring, and if you open it up, you can just about see that ring. Now what I'm going to do is do 2 chains. So remember, that was yarn over and through, yarn over and through. And that's going to get me up to the height that I need to make my first stitch. Now, a lot of tutorials will tell you to chain 3, but I don't find that I need 3. 2 is sufficient to get me up to the right height of a UK treble crochet. If I do 3, I find that my chain has this little curve to it, which is a bit unattractive. So I'm going to just chain 2. Now I'm going to do some UK treble crochets into the centre of this ring. So that's yarn over and go into the ring and yarn over and pull up a loop. So you have 3 on the hook. I hold on to this and the tail, and I yarn over and I pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2, and that is a UK treble crochet. In the US it's called a double crochet. So I'm going to show you again. It's yarn over into the centre of that loop, that hole, ring, whatever you want to call it, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So now if you look at it, we've got 3 stitches. We've got the 2 chain that we started with and our 2 UK treble crochets or US double crochets. So these 2 chain, they count as our first stitch, And into this ring, excuse me, I'm just going to get a... Sorry about that, that's better. So into this ring we want 12 altogether. So now with the 2 chain, that's 3. So I'm going to carry on and into the, so yarn over into the center of the ring, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. So I'm going to get a little faster, and if I go ahead of you, then just please pause the video and catch up. So all together, I'm not going to count out loud because that puts you off. I'm also working over the tail. You don't have to do that, but I find it means an awful lot less sewing, which is never a bad thing in my opinion. So I'm just going to stop and count how many I've done. Okay, so I need to do 2 more. So once you've reached the end, if you haven't already, just pause the video, catch up with me. Sorry about that, it's asthma and allergies. It's nothing, I haven't got coronavirus or anything awful. So now I'm going to slip stitch into the top of my first 2 chains. So if you look, these are the 2 chain that we started with, and we're going to slip stitch into this top stitch here. There's the first one, there's the second. So we just insert our hook and we're going to yarn over and pull through that loop and the loop that's on our hook. And we've now made that ring. So that's our first round done. Now what we're going to do is chain 3. And I said to you before that chaining 2 gets us to the height of our stitch. So what I've done now is created a space. So if those 2 are our stitch, this one is our space. So in the very next stitch, we're going to do a treble crochet again, or it's a US double. So we're doing that, and now we're going to do 1 chain. So we're doing that in every single one around. So we're doubling the amount of stitches that we've got, although we still only have 12 of our UK treble crochets. So in each stitch, we're doing the UK treble or US double, and we're then doing a chain. So I'm going to do that all the way around in every single stitch that we have. And again, if I go ahead of you, then just pause the video and catch up. And don't worry if it pulls up a little bit. If you can see it's curling in just a little bit like that, it doesn't matter. It will pull itself out. Did I do my chain? No. So all the way around we will still have 12 stitches, but we will have 24 in reality with those chains. If you're crocheting very, very tightly, you could do 2 chain, but I've got a feeling I've done enough now, so I'm just going to count it. That's my 12. I've finished with my chain. So I'm going to slip stitch now. If I've gone ahead of you, just pause it and catch up. I'm going to slip stitch in the second chain. Remember, this is the stitch, so I'm going to slip stitch into there, leaving that 1 chain to be the gap. And remember, we did that by yarning over and pulling through both. So now we need to be inside one of our spaces. So this is where we are now. We need to be in there. So I'm going to slip stitch into that space by inserting my hook and pulling up the yarn and just going through the loop that's on my hook. So now I'm in that space. I need to pull some more yarn out. Just bear with me a second. Okay, so now I'm inside this gap, we're going to go in each of our spaces around. We're just going to work into those spaces. So my first stitch is my 2 chain, just as before, and now I'm going to do 2 more into that space. So I've got a cluster of 3. So there we are, there's 3 in there, including those 2 chain. So into this one, I'm going to do another 3. And if I'm too fast for you and I go too far ahead, just as before, just pause it and catch up with me. So each one of our spaces, we're doing 3 of our trebles. See that? They start to all kind of merge, but because we're doing those 3, and I said to you, don't worry about it pulling in, it will come out again. It's doing this that is making that pull out. So if you did kind of curve in, don't worry about it too much. Unless it's just too tight, then your tension may be a little tight. I'm crocheting in my hair. I think most of the things you crochet end up with some of your hair in. Good job this is for me. I don't really have to get it out. Sorry if you can hear people walking by. They're all supposed to be doing what's called social distancing. But they're not. Almost round. Just keep going. 3 in each of those spaces. Doesn't matter if it still pulls up just a little bit. The next rounds. Like my yarn's caught on something. Let's pull that a little bit more out. So I'm halfway through that one, and have I done 3 in there? Yep. I'm on my last space. Hair's really annoying me. So now I might have to get that out. So now I'm back all the way around, and I'm going to slip stitch into my second chain. There's my first one and there's my second one. So just insert my hook, and as before I'm going to hold it and pull through. So I've now joined my ring. So that is actually part 1 all done. So I'm going to snip off my yarn and end off. And to do that, I'm going to yarn over and pull it through like a chain, but holding on to this, I'm going to cinch it down tight and pull it through. So it's now secured down. So if you just look, that is now the center part of our square. Now with these ones, I did them slightly larger. If you look, I used a 5mm crochet hook. So they're not that much difference. This is a 4.5. It just means they're a little bit snugger, but they're not very much. But I prefer using a 4.5 with DK weight yarn. But obviously, if you're going to make yours with a 4 weight or an Aran yarn, as we call that in the UK, then just go up a hook size, maybe a 5.5 or a 6. But that's part 1. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button and you'll be informed when there are new videos. Join me in a moment for part 2, and that will be enough then to get you started and start making the squares for the crochet along. So thanks for watching. Bye bye for now, everyone.